30th of August, Rabbi Moore, Parsha Hashavua.
Baruch Hashem. Okay.
Savo?
Yeah. So Lou has a little lamb. Had a little lamb.
I have a big lamb, actually. My freezer overfloweth.
Okay.
Baruch Hashem.
Amazing. How much? Just a matter of curiosity. How much does this project cost you?
3,760 shekels.
That's all it means. That's the whole thing. And how much? How many kilo of meat you get from that?
I don't know. I haven't weighed it. They weigh the whole lamb before they start, and the price is based on the weight of the whole lamb, but that includes the innards and the bones, whatever. So it's not.
Out of curiosity, how much does a lamb weigh?
I think it was like 90 kilos, something like that.
90 kilo.
Yeah.
It was probably, as far as meat and end product meats, you've got nowhere near that. It must be about half of that.
Probably, yeah. Don't remember, you don't eat the hind quarter.
Right, and you don't eat the innards, you don't eat the bones.
Right. It's only the top half, and it's only the without the guts and everything.
Right. Okay.
But in Mitzvah Hashem, we'll have a sweet and a good New Year, and you should too.
Amen, 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 amen.
So what pasuk are we on here? We're in.
So yesterday we got up to Sheni. We got up to Sheni.
Sheni. Okay. He sechale la ser eskol ma star tuvua scha bashona hashlishis shinas ha-ma'aser v'nasata la-levi la-ger la-yasom v'la-almana v'achlu bish-arecha v'saveu.
Okay.
So let's see. When you have finished tithing, every tithe of the third year, the year of the tithe.
We're actually just going to dwell on that, what that means. So referring to in the third year, which is the year of the tithe. Okay.
And you will have given to the Levi. Vinasata, and you will have given, no?
Oh, and you shall give.
And you shall give. So it's not have given, it's shall give.
Right.
Shall give. To the Levite, to the convert, to the orphan, and to the widow, and they will have eaten in your cities and will have been satisfied.
Okay, they shall eat in your, again, same thing. They shall eat in your cities, the Savo, and be satisfied. We'll see from Rashi what that's referring to, but what's that got to do with you? Whether they eat and be satisfied, what is that relevant to the farmer? Okay, we'll see in Rashi.
Okay, so let's see. This is Pasuk 12.
Right.
When you have finished tithing every tithe of your produce of the third year, that is keshetin more the hafrish maseros shel shana hashlishis. When you will finish setting aside the tithes of the third year, kava zaman ha biur v'ha vidui. Fix the time of the removal and the confession. The Erev HaPesach, on the eve of Pesach,
Shoshana Revis.
of the fourth year, Shne'emar, as it says, Miktsei Shalosh Shanim Totzi Vigomer. So it says, at the end of 3 years, you shall take out, etc. V'ne'emar kan.
So this is a section in Parshas Re'eh. There it says, say shalosh shonim, at the end of 3 years. Okay?
Right.
It doesn't say actually end of 3 years. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But there it does. Nema kan mikates. Okay? Here it says mikates miksei shalosh shonim totzi. Okay? Right? The nema lahalon. You with me?
No. I see the Gomer, etc. The Ne'emar Khan Mikates. It says here at the end. Was that where I should be reading?
Yeah. The nema lahalon mikates sheva shonim li'inin hakel.
Oh, I see where you are. The Ne'emar Lahalan, and it states below Mikates Sheva Shanim, at the end of 7 years. Le'inyan HaKahel, regarding the topic of HaKahel, which is the assembly of the entire nation when the king would read to them from Devarim. Ma Lehalan Regel, just as later on it's a festival, Afkan Regel, so here too it's a festival. I ma lehalan, if you were to say just as below.
I don't know if you say ima lahalon. Oh yes, you're right, correct. Okay. Ima lahalon chag hasukos.
Chag hasukos, festival of Sukkos, Afkan chag hasukos. So too here, the festival of Sukkos. Talmud Lomar, but the Torah says.
So the Torah teaches you regarding this.
Ki sechaleh.
That's what it says over here.
La'aser. When you have finished the tithing. Ma'aros shel shana hashlishis. The tithes of the third year. implying regel shehamaseros kalin bo, the festival upon which the tithes are finished. V'zehu Pesach, and this is Pesach. Why would that be Pesach? Why would Pesach be the one?
Because Rashi is going to go on to explain. Shahar be'ilonos, you will not be able to complete tithing your produce.
There are many types of trees
by Sukkot,
which are gathered after Sukkot. I see. So it's an agricultural thing,
right?
It's got to be Pesach because that's going to be
That's going to be after you've completed all the tithes. Whereas by Sukkot, it's too early. As it says, Shahar be'ilonos yeshen lukotim acha Sukkot. There are many trees, okay, which are only gathered, harvested after Sukkot.
But what about Shavuos?
No, 1 second. We're talking about, obviously, but the many fruit trees are harvested only after Sukkot, meaning starting with, we're talking about the agricultural year, basically spanning the summer, starting with Pesach, followed by Shavuos, and then Sukkot. So this that which the Torah prescribes, that when you reach a festival, okay, where you will have finished your tithing, right? Now, it cannot be referring to Sukkot because people haven't finished their tithing yet, because there are a number of late fruits which are late growers, and they're not harvested till after Sukkot. So therefore, it cannot be referring to Sukkot. So therefore, it must be referring to the next upcoming festival, which is 6 months later or 5.5 months later, and that's referring to Pesach. Got it?
I'm very confused.
Okay.
Sukkot is the first of the year.
Sorry?
Sukkot happens in the beginning of the year.
It depends if you're starting for Rosh Hashanah. But when we're talking about the festival year, we start with Pesach.
Okay, then how can it
then
be?
Shavuos, and then Sukkot.
Anything to grow.
Sorry?
You haven't had any time for anything to grow if you start with Pesach.
Why? You planted it in the winter.
But that was the previous year.
1 second. Why is it considered the previous year?
Because you just said you start with Pesach.
I'm saying when let me explain. Just best way of explaining this to you. In an average agricultural year, the winter, the person does the planting of grain, let's say, or cultivation of the fruits is basically done in the winter, the beginning of the winter. Throughout the winter, then the things are kind of dormant, and then come spring, things spring forth, right? Now, different fruits have different times of ripening, and when they're different harvest times. So Rashi is pointing out as follows. The Torah tells us that when it comes to a festival, Mitzei Sholosh Shonim, at the end of 3 years, then that's when you have to take out whatever remains of your produce which you haven't tithed yet, and you go to give it to the respective recipients. Okay? Now, what does that mean at the end of 3 years? So Rashi says, you learn out from a Gzeira Shava, that the end means referring to a festival. Festival determines what is the end of 3 years. Horaya, we find by Hakel, the Hakel, it says on Chag HaSukkos, Mitzei Sheva Shonim, at the end of 7 years. So you see there it's also a festival determines or delineates when is the end of a time period of a number of years. So therefore, I would have assumed over here that Huadin over here, over this end of 3 years, that refers to also Sukkot. That Sukkot determines, delineates, this is the end of the 3-year period of tithing, of the agricultural cycle. This is the end of 3 years. Says, however, Chazal say that can't be, because practically speaking, there are many fruit trees which do not get harvested till after Sukkot. So they won't be able to say that you finished harvesting your the produce of your 3 years. Because let's give an example: apples. So an apple picking time is in October, November, after Sukkot. So you cannot say that Sukkot determines this is the end of the 3rd year of the apple tree cycle, because you haven't harvested the fruit of the 3rd year yet. So therefore, Chazal say, oh, you know what we must be referring to over here? A different festival. But it's a festival because that's what we learn out from Hakkell. But it's not Sukkot, but it's the next upcoming festival, which will be Pesach of the next year. Next year meaning after the winter.
So that's the 4th year.
Of the 4th year. That's what Rashi says. Rashi says at the beginning. Kava zman abir v'avivi b'erev ha'pesach shel shona haraviis. So that at the beginning of the Rashi. Towards the beginning of the Rashi.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay?
So the end of the 3rd year is the beginning of the 4th year.
Right.
So Pesach is
pretty much well into the 4th year, actually. But the Maisa, that is called the end of the 3rd year. Okay?
Yeah. So let's see, where were we?
We've got 2 lines before the end of the Rashi.
In Imtsu, it is thus found Ma'as Ros Shel Shalishis, that the ties of the 3rd year, Kalin Pesach Shel Revi'is, are finished on Pesach of the 4th year. V'chol mi she shicha ma'as rosav, whoever delayed giving his tithes, hitz richo hakasuv leva'aro min habayis. Scripture required that he eliminate them from the house. Shanas ha-ma'aser, the year of the tithe. Shana she'ein no heg ba ela ma'aser echad. This refers to a year in which there applies only one tithe. Mishnei ma'as ros she nahagu bishtei shanim shel shelafaneha.
Meaning as follows: you've got a 3-year cycle. In the first 2 years, a certain 2 maasros apply, and in the 3rd year, of those 2 maasros which applied in the previous 2 years, only 1 is going to apply.
Shana Rishona Ushnia Shel Shmita. For in the 1st and 2nd years of the Shemitah, Noheg Bahen Maaser Rishon. The first tithe applies. Kamo Shne'amar, as it says, Ki Sikhu Me'es B'nei Yisrael Es Hamaaser. When you take from the children of Israel the tithe, Umaaser Sheni, and the second tithe, which is eaten in Jerusalem by the owner of the food, Shnei Amar, as it says, Va'achla
V'ochalta.
Va'achalta lifnei Hashem Elokecha Maaser.
Ma'asar.
Ma'asar Diganecha
Digancha.
Ti Tirish
Tiroshcha.
Tiroshcha v'yitz ha'recha. You shall eat before Hashem your God the tithe of your grain, your wine, and your oil. Hare shnei ma'asros. Behold, there are two tithes.
Okay, so basically what Rashi said is the first one is given actually to the Levi. Rashi doesn't actually mention it explicitly over here, but that's what we refer to always as Ma'aser Rishon. Right, the first tithe is separated actually, matter of fact, every year, in all 6 years of the Shemitah cycle, and it's given to the Levi. Okay. And besides, after having separated the first tithe, one separates a second tithe. So in other words, after having, first of all, the Maisa, one separates Truma Gedola, okay, which is given to the Kohen. And after having separated Truma Gedola, let's say we're left with 100 units. So 10 of those units are given to the Levi. And then you're left with 90 units. And then 9 of those units, of the units, because you've got left with 90, so a tenth of 90 is 9. 9 units are separated as Ma'aser Sheni and taken by the owner to be eaten in Yerushalayim, as Rashi says. Should eat before Hashem your God, which means take it to Yerushalayim. It's very interesting, actually. The Rambam says that the idea of Ma'aser Sheni is, we're asking every farmer in the entire Eretz Yisrael to separate a tithe in the first year, second year, and then afterwards in the 4th and 5th year of the Shemitah cycle, and to take that up to Yerushalayim. So that means either one of two things. Either he himself is going to have to make a trip with his entire family going up to Yerushalayim to eat the food there. Or the Rambam says, mentions another thing. He'll send his boys to yeshiva in Yerushalayim. And this way, by giving them Ma'aser Sheni, he'll provide them with food the entire time they're there. I mean, obviously, they don't necessarily have to eat they don't have to be eating necessarily plums the whole time. He's got a plum orchard, and he separates Ma'aser Sheni so he doesn't have to have his boys eating plums the whole time. But what they can do is they can sell it and exchange it for other food in Yerushalayim, that is. So the Rambam suggests this way, because every farmer has a considerable amount of Ma'aser Sheni, he will be able to send his boys up to Yerushalayim to learn there in yeshivas, to be with the greats of the generation who are the Kohanim and the other Talmidei Chachamim who are residing in Yerushalayim. This way, they will be able to learn Torah there. Okay?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the thing. So Rashi says over here, so now let's continue. Uba v'lamedcha.
Uba the Lumedka Khan comes to teach you here, Bashana Hashlishis, on the third year, She'ain Noheg Ma Osan Shnei Ma Saros Ella Ha Echad, that those two tithes only, that of those two tithes only one applies.
The Ezer.
I'm confused. What when it says it comes?
No. So the Torah is telling you over here that the third year is Shnas HaMa'aseh. Only one of those two applies.
Oh, the first 2
One-
years you have two, and then the third year you have only one.
One of those two. In other words, the two which applied in the 2 previous years, only one of them applies. Now, which one is that? The Ezer.
The Ezeh, and which one is this? Zeh Meiser Rishon. This is the first tithe, the one that's given to the Levites.
Right.
The Tachas Meiser Sheni, instead of the second tithe. Yitain Maaser Ani. He should give the tithe to the poor. Shene Amar Khan, for it says here, Vinasata la Levi, you will have given to the Levite, Es Asher Lo, that which is his, Hare Maaser Rishon.
That's what,
Behold,
that's
this is
referring
the
to
first
Master
tithe.
Right. And then it says,
Lager liasum vilal mana, to the convert, the orphan, and the widow.
okay, that is referring to
That's
Isa
money.
Ani. This refers to the tithe given to the poor. Why? Because these are classic examples, Ger, Yosef, Almona, who do not have a source of income, a ready source of income. Most people, the man, the father of the house is the breadwinner, so he's there. So therefore, they have what to provide them with financial support. But a ger comes from, he's left everything of his original life in the foreign country, and he's come now to live in Eretz Yisrael. So where he has there's no land, he has no source of agricultural support. So maybe he's got to find himself parnasa. By the way, you see all the way through the Torah, Maisa, that certainly initially after they came into Eretz Yisrael, the economy was very strongly agriculturally based. So somebody who had land had a source of income. Somebody who didn't have land really did not have a source of income. Put this way, there was no high tech in those days.
Right. But there were merchants, there were craftsmen.
Well, so for sure. I mean, we find as well that Zvulun, he very much was involved in commerce, maritime commerce, it's between carrying through selling to other countries, traveling to other countries by ship, and bringing in merchandise from foreign countries, etc. Okay. Anyway, so that's what V'achlu v'sharecha v'savehu.
Nisharecha v'savehu. And they will have eaten in your cities and will have been satisfied.
Right, that's how it's translated. Because again, you said the same. They will eat. That's why I translated. They will eat.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the way they translate it.
Well, they will or will have eaten.
They will have been satisfied. They will have eaten. Yes.
Interesting.
That's
Just
what
let
it
me
says.
check up over here how I translated it. Savo. There. I just as follows. And you give when you complete tithing all the required, I wrote it in kind of the ongoing present tense. When you complete tithing all the required tithes of your produce of the third year, the year of the one tithe, and you give them to the Levi, the proselyte, the orphan, and the widow, so that they may eat in your towns and be satisfied. Well, we see that this "so that" is indicated from this next Rashi. So that they may eat them in your towns and be satisfied. It's like an ongoing, it's not particularly specifically future or past. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, now, so Rashi is saying a very important point. The fact that they're going to be satisfied is their issue, their realm, not yours, right? But the point is, it is, because you've got to give them enough food that they should be satisfied. That's what Rashi is pointing out. 10, see the Rashi here, yeah?
Okay. 10 lahem kidei savan. Give them in order that they should be satisfied.
So Rashi is pointing out over here that the farmer, when giving Maisa'oni, he should give to the Ger, Yosem Valmona, in a way that they will eat in your gates and they will be satisfied. So that's what Rashi said. 10 lahem kedei savan. Give them, which is the amount which is for their satisfaction. Yeah, carry on the Rashi. Mikan Amru.
Mikan Amru. I lost my place. Let's see. Mikan Amru. From here, they said, Ein pochatsin la'ani bagoren pachos mechetzi kav itim v'chulahu. We do not give to a poor person at the threshing floor less than half of a cob of wheat, etc.
The Torah there, Chazal say, what is an average, I call it satisfactory amount to give to each ani, which means when you give him, so he says the example thing is actually the Mishnah carries on that different types of produce have different quantities. But the point is that, let's take the example of wheat. If you want to give the ani a nice amount of wheat that will, if he eats from it, he'll be satisfied, that is half a cup. Okay?
That's enough to satisfy the average person.
Right. Now, so you see from here that this is the amount which he has to give. Now, what's the idea behind it as follows? Let's say I give an example that the farmer, he separates Maisani and he's got a ton of wheat, i.e. 1,000 kilos of wheet, talking about metric ton. Okay. Now, what happens is he puts an ad in the local newspaper. He says, calling all Aniyim, I have a large amount of wheat to give to Aniyim for my son. Okay, the next day, crowds of Aniyim come clamoring at his door, and he say, "Well, we saw the thing. We are Aniyim. We want to have my son." Now, if let's say this, I'll give an example: 2,000 Aniyim at his door, and he's only got 1,000 kilo to give out. Okay, now the Torah tells you, so you've got a choice there. Should I give a small amount to each ani? Or should I give a large amount and give it to less aniyim and then divide it out, not to give all the aniyim, but to give a reasonable amount to each ani that he will have a decent amount, receive from me a decent amount. So the Torah tells you over here the second option. Give to each ani that he will have a reasonable amount, that if he makes a meal out of what he's been given, he'll be satisfied. So therefore, don't divide up the maison into very small amounts, because then you're not going to give each person a satisfying amount. But rather give to less aniyim, but each one should receive at least a satisfying amount. Okay? So I think you're out for the day.
Yeah, I think I'm out. I think we're time is up also.
Yes, time is up as well. Yeah, almost.
All right, so we're
Okay.
we're just
Okay, you'd give me
12,
that.
right? Yeah, we're
You'd give me.
at 13. Okay.
Very good.
All right,
Have a great
Rabbi.
day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.